All right, well, good morning. Glad you're here with us. Glad you're online. Anyone love the Olympics? Anybody? Okay, like 9. Good. That's better than the 3 at the 9:30. Well, the rest of you not love America? America. Unity? What? Come on. Okay. Well, anyways, reason I say that is my wife loves the Olympics, and she's a school teacher, so she's off all summer. She's watching every second of it. I would get home, like leaving here, get home, and she's like, in the trampoline today, I thought China had it, and then all of a sudden North Korea. I mean, she was like, I would because I love my wife, I'd be like, yeah, and the whole time I'm like, I don't care about any of this. But we hit rock bottom because we are at our house sitting on the couch on Saturday. I think my daughter's on a cruise, and my son's already left for school, and I'm sad, not because of them, because I realize my life stinks and my kids' lives are better. They're living their good life. But my wife, she's actually sad because she's missing the kids, and she doesn't even know I was watching this, but she's like on her phone, and she's like just looking through pictures. And it's the most amazing thing. Like, she's just so like all about the kids. And we're going to come back to that in just a second. But here's as we talk about the Olympics, here's the key part. I want all of you to know. There's a shooter this year. Anyone see the turkey shooter? Okay, all over the place, right? This guy, awesome, right? They all have all this equipment. They do their thing. He walks in and literally just, nothing, shooting. Everybody's making jokes online like he's a hit man. He's whatever. But as we talk about purpose this morning, and this is what I really want to kind of harp with you guys. In 2004 in the Athens Olympics, there's a guy, an American named Matthew Emmons. The best rifle shooter there is, like completely. 100% just amazing rifle shooter. And this is what gets crazy. So he is taking his final shot, and all he has to do is hit the target, and he's automatic gold. So everybody else is just like checking out because it's a done deal. Done. He's going to win gold. He sights it in, does all of his stuff, and takes his first shot and hits bullseye. So it's a gold medal. But he looks up on the screen, and they don't give him any points. So he waits for a second, looks again, still 0. And if he gets 0, then he's going to bump all the way to A. So he's kind of confused. And then he realizes he actually shot one lane over. So he hit bullseye, but he actually hit bullseye at the wrong target. And because of that, did not even medal. And here's a picture, right there. So literally should have been gold and didn't. Why? Because he hit bullseye, but he hit bullseye on the wrong target. Now, what I was going to tell you about, is I got sidetracked on the couch, is one Saturday, kids all living their life, and my wife, and we watched, I'm not making this up, you can verify because you think I lie a lot. We watched skeet shooting for an hour and a half. Is that not the lowest point of your life? And America, my wife said, she's like, we're in first, second, and third right now. We're just going to take all of them home. And again, I'm like, okay, who cares, right? Well, we end up winning, and she's like, yes. And I literally, for that moment, looked over and thought, who did I marry? And why did I marry you, right? But no, love Olympics, good. But here's the point of all this. I'm going to ask you guys today, like, maybe you're hitting bullseye. Hope you are. Maybe you're killing it in life. But I think the question becomes, what's your real target? What's your target? So some of us, the scary part could be we're hitting bullseye. We're making the sales. We're leading the group, whatever that is. But what if that's not actually the real bullseye? So to kick off this series, as Aaron said, FYP, Find Your Purpose, I want to give you this thought. All of you in this room, all of you watching online, I want you to hear this, okay? One day it's going to be over. One day you're going to get to the end and it's all said and done. Every one of us will get somewhere in life. You're going to end up, all of you in this room watching online, I promise you, it never fails. It's 100% guaranteed. We're all going to end up somewhere. But what I've learned in my 45 plus years of existence is very few people end up somewhere on purpose and where they really want to be. And so what I want to do today is to kick this off is just give you a few concepts of how can we kind of find our purpose. How can we live in purpose? How can we make sure we're not only hitting the bullseye, right, but we're actually on the right target. And there's a verse in the Old Testament, which is the older section of the Bible before Jesus. And this psalmist, the guy that wrote it, he said, "You will show me the path of life, granting me the joy of your presence and the pleasure of living with you forever." You will show me the path of life. You'll show me the path of life. So there's a path. God's like, no, I've designed you on purpose and for purpose, all of you in this room, and there's a path. And today, when we get in this series and starting next week, what I'm going to talk about is, I read this book, I think it's called The Power of Purpose by Elizabeth Dixon. Pretty good book. But my favorite part is she had 5 questions. So we're going to go through the life of Paul, a guy who wrote pretty much like 2/3 of the second half of the Bible, one guy. So a pretty influential person. But we're going to go through his life and look at kind of how he found his purpose with these 5 questions. And here are the 5 questions, just so you can kind of get a teaser. We'll hit the first one next week. So how do we find our purpose? So I thought these questions were just amazing. First question is, what are the stories that shape me? What are the stories that shape you? Because we all have different stories, and our stories do shape us, right? Some of you, my wife is a great example. Her family, great people, amazing people. Mom and dad, amazing people. It's like the Brady Bunch. You go there, they're singing Kumbaya, they're holding hands, they're praying, right? Now, some of you in here are like, I should take you to my house, right? It's polar opposite of the Brady Bunch. I was watching, anyone watch the documentary on the Florida Gators? Just a side note, I'll focus, I promise. On the Florida Gators, he had a linebacker who was just off the chain. He was like, I can't do anything with him. So Urban Meyer, who's coaching at Florida right then, this is in the documentary, he said, you know what? I thought, I'm going to call his mom and dad. I'm going to get them down here. We're going to have a heart-to-heart, and they will straighten out their boy. Well, they interviewed the linebacker, and he's like, my mom and dad came in. They've been drinking and smoking all night, right? My mom came in and yelled at Urban and said he was a terrible coach. And Urban said, I just watched all this, and when they left, I apologized to the kid. That's your mom and dad. You've done great for your sister. Some of you here are like, dude, that's my story. We get it, right? We all have different stories, but they do shape us. What are the giftings that make me? What are the giftings that make you? You see, all of you in this room, and I know if you're an older guy, like, ugh, but it's true. God's gifted you. He's given you things that only He's designed you to do. You're created on purpose, for a purpose. What are the topics that shape me? You see, one of my favorite things, we used to do different outreaches, and I remember one night we came together and we were like, we're going to do like 3 or 4 different things, and one of those was go to a nursing home. I'll never forget this. This was when we were in the elementary at South Point, and I walk in, I'm like, one of our choices is a nursing home. Who wants to go to that? And I saw people get emotional. Like, you know what, my grandmother was in a nursing home for 8 years. They all just, like, you tell, they're like, yes, that's where we want to go. I watch other people like, is there anywhere else? I don't want to go there. It smells weird, right? It creeps me out. I don't want to be there. And you could just tell there were certain topics that shook people, and then for some of us, we're like, I love that shakes you. But it doesn't shake me. If I'm being honest, I don't care that much about it. What are the investments that take me? And then last one, we got to go fast. What are the perspectives that wake me? Because all this comes together and gives us a different life perspective. So that's what we're going to talk about. So here's where I want to go today. I want to give you just kind of a teaser. Paul, the guy we're going to be talking about for the next 6 weeks. Paul, it's interesting. He's writing to a church. And this is one of the early churches that met in a home probably and, ate and all the stuff we're going to try to do with the table. But as he's talking to his church, he's giving them some advice, and it's kind of like a blueprint for all the churches. And he gets kind of to the end, and he's like, I want to give you what my prayer is for you. And I was reading a book several years back, and the guy just made a quick comment in the book. He was like, if you go through from Exodus, which is like the second book of the Bible, to Revelation, the end, you'll find at least 14 times he claimed he's found this kind of almost like a path God's giving us. He keeps coming back to it. When he wanted people to be delivered, he brought it up. When Jesus, I think, was with his disciples at the very end, I think we're going to see he brings it up. And Paul's kind of doing the same thing. He's mimicking these 4. So what this guy said is there's really a purpose in this path. And here's what he says in just these 2 verses. He said, I'm praying for you, asking God, the glorious Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, to give you spiritual wisdom and insight so that you might grow in your knowledge of God. I pray that your hearts will be flooded with light so that you can understand the confident hope He has given to those He called, us, His holy people, who are His rich and glorious inheritance. So what I want to do, hopefully quick this morning, is I want to break down just this 2 verses into what this guy claims. And I went back and started thinking about it. I was like, you might be onto something here because it's so many different times when God speaks. Here is your purpose path. Okay, you will see this mimic in the Bible so many different times. You'll see God coming back to it. And it's kind of these 4 phrases that just keep popping up throughout the history of God in the Bible. So what is your purpose path? First this, know God. Know God. Okay, look at the beginning verse. He says, to make you intelligent and discerning in knowing him personally. Knowing him personally. No, I think if you're in a church environment, like, I know God, Bible, do this. No. I think Jesus came on the scene and he was like, you guys know how you think about pagan gods? You know how you think about even our God? It's like, if I do good, he's happy with me. If I do bad, he gets mad at me. And so I need to be good, or I'm nervous I'm not good. And he's like, no. My God, the one true God, the only God, is Father. Father, you talk to him like he's your dad. And Jesus is like, because he is. That's how much he loves us. Now, I come full circle while I was saying with my wife. So, we're on the couch and watching the Olympics, and she is on her phone scrolling through pictures of our kids. And I look over at her, and I notice something I've never really noticed before. She's looking at a picture of our son at football camp, and she does this. She gets to a picture, and she's like, and she flips a picture of my daughter, a picture of her. She's on her cruise. And it hit me, and I look at her, I'm like, you get happy just looking at our kids, don't you? She said, I do. Just looking at them. I was like, that blew my mind. I was like, my dad doesn't want to look at me, right? I don't know if he knows what I look like. Just get outside. But you could just tell. And I thought, but that's a picture of God. God, how do you think God looks at you when he looks at you? You know what? I will say that I'll be cheesy for just a second. We have multiple pictures of our kids on the fridge. And I will walk by sometimes, maybe at night, no one's around. And, because, my son's going, daughter's getting ready to go back to college. And I'll look and I'll smile looking at my kids. You see, what Paul's trying to say is, I want you to make sure you know God. The word know, the Greek word means, it would be like in the Bible when it said a man knew his wife. It meant to be intimate. And although it's not a sexual phrase, what he's saying is, no, this is the intimacy God wants with you. So much he loves you. God literally puts your picture on the fridge. He does. And he walks by and he smiles. No, I got to get right with God. And God's like, you can't get right with me. You'll screw it up. That's why I let my son do it for you. So we're good. It's been balanced. You see, that's the good news, and that's what God wants us to know. God's like, I created you as human beings, not human doings. At the end of the day, I just want to be with you. When my son was little, I would be outside. I didn't do a lot of work outside. I'm not going to lie too much. But sometimes I'd have to fix something that no one else was doing. So I'm on YouTube trying to figure out. But my son, when he was little, he would always come out and he'd be like, Dad, you want me to help? No, you'll just mess it up. Get back inside, right? That's the kind of how I was. I remember one time he walked out and he was like, Mom said I could help. And I'm like, no, you can't. And I look and she's behind him. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you can help. And can I be honest with you guys? When he was little, you think he helped? No. He messed up more stuff than he helped. He really did. But as I look back, you know what I love? Is those moments. Why? Because you got something done? No, because I was just with my son. I was just with my daughter. Those are the moments. And Jesus is like, I want you to see, Paul's saying, this is how God feels about you. I want you not to know, he loves you. And he wants you to know truly how much he loves you. So the first part of the path from 17 is know God. Second part is discover purpose. Look what he goes on to say. He says, your eyes focused and clear so you can see exactly what he is calling you to do. Everyone in this room, everyone listening online, God's like, no, I created you not only for a purpose, on purpose, but I've given you a calling. It's deeper. It's outside of you. And Paul's like, I just hope you guys can get your eyes on and get clear with this calling God's given you. Now, several years back, it's been a while now because the kids are small. I have a mentor, and we were about 7 years into C3, and we were going through building, we were doing a lot of stuff. It's pretty stressful. And I'm talking to a friend of mine, a mentor in Columbus, and he says, there's science, and he was like, biblically, but he's like, science, every 7 years, you should get away. And he's like, it needs to be literally like at least 5-6 weeks. He said, you just need to get away. You need to recharge because you will. He's like, your personality type, you'll burn yourself out. I'm just telling you, it's too much. And we were going through some pretty tough stuff at that time. And I didn't want to do it, kept putting it off. He kept pushing me. So finally I did. Well, long story short, he says, here's the plan. You got to be away from C3, like phone, turn it off, whatever. I think it was like 6 weeks. But the first week, He said, I want you to get out of town, kids, wife, nobody. I'd never done that before. He's like, I just want you to just go anywhere. And your only rule is to wake up in the morning in your hotel and say, I don't have to do. He's like, because you wake up, like all of us in this room. I know some of you are like, why can't I get that my job take off? Yeah, fair. But he's like, just wake up and say, I don't have to do anything today. Anything. Well, because I'm cheap and I'm going to be a week, away from my wife and kids, I book a hotel in Florida. I fly down, book a hotel. I said 31. I think it was $28 a night. Now, does anyone know why a hotel's $28 a night? It's either bed bugs, right, which I think it had, or it's in a really sketchy part of the neighborhood, right? Do kids still say sketch? True? No? Okay, they don't say that, but I did. It's sketch, okay? And I know this for a fact because the first night, I'm a Lawrence County guy, right? I'm like, it's late at night. I'm going to go walking. I'm going to get something to eat. I think I went to McDonald's. I walked, didn't have a car, walked in McDonald's. I'm walking back, and it's dark at night. And in the back parking lot, as I'm walking to my room, whistling, doing my thing, Big Mac in hand, I hear all these voices. Hey, man, come over here. Yo, bro, come here. Everybody's just telling me to come to them. And I've never been so nervous in my life. I'm like, I know I probably shouldn't go to these people's cars, right? It's going to be bad. So I'm like, oh, sorry, I got something to do. Got to finish my Big Mac. And I got inside. Well, it freaked me out so much that I spent that whole week, I would eat dinner like some of you old people here. 3 o'clock, there was my dinner, right? Because it had to be daylight. But on day 2, I was like, what do I do in Florida? What do I really do? And close to me, almost like in walking distance, was a Greyhound dog track. Well, so I was like, oh, that's cool. And my family, they all been, never really been. I was like, I want to go see that. So I just went to watch dogs. Right, Hoppy? We'll say that. I just went to watch them. Yeah, that's what I did. Sure. No, but I go to this track, and come to find out there's a cool story at this track in Florida. Since then, it's shut down. But one time they were running in this track, and because they're dogs and not horses, I promise I'm going somewhere with this, because horses have jockeys and they can guide them, dogs don't. So what they invented is this mechanical rabbit that goes around the track really fast, and they all chase it. That's their purpose, chase the rabbit. Well, in the middle of a race, this mechanical rabbit, you can find it online, it's going around, and it explodes. Mechanical electrical fire just blows up. And the second the rabbit blows up, the craziest thing happens. A few of the dogs, it's like 8 of them, a few of the dogs just lay down. They stop everything. They just lay down like they're going to take a nap. Some of the dogs, because it's chaotic and don't know what to do, one specifically, it runs through the guardrails, like into the crowd, and broke like several ribs. It didn't know what to do. And then several of the dogs just literally went towards the crowd, all these people betting, and just barked at them. Now, why am I telling you that? Because I think that's a great example of discovering your purpose. You see, if you don't know your purpose, you're either going to just be lazy, you're literally going to bark at other people and be mad all the time, or you're going to hurt yourself, right? It's pretty solid. That's how it works. But these dogs are like, we know our purpose. And when that purpose got thrown off, they didn't know what to do. And I just am afraid for some of us here, it's like, do we really know our purpose? So what's this path God gives us? We see in verse 17, we need to know God. We need to discover purpose. The next one, this is one of my favorites, is find freedom. Look at verse 18. He says, grasp the immensity of this glorious way of life he has for his followers. This glorious way of life he has for his followers. Find freedom. Now, I know no one cared about the Olympics because only, obviously, 4 of you watch it. Pretty sad. But could we be honest for a second? How many of you would just be honest enough to say, right now, in the last week or two, maybe you felt either some anxiety or stress or worry? Anybody? Anybody be honest enough? Okay, probably more than that, but yes, say that. So, a good friend of mine, I was at the barber shop this past week and talking, and business owner, and just talking through stress, trying to kind of going back and forth, trying to find good help and all that. And I just said, I bet you worry. And this guy says, I did it for just a little bit. And he's like, then I quit. And then he kind of went in a long, different story. He said, my wife worries a lot. She actually worries that I don't worry sometimes, which I thought was pretty good. But then he said this little phrase. He said, I just got to the point where I'm just going to do what I can do. Leave it at that. And even as he said that, I thought, that's free. isn't it? And this is the life God's called us into. It's not just, oh yeah, do something for me. Make sure you're always giving out. But he's like, no, I want you to be able to just be settled too. And realize maybe sometimes things aren't going to work your way, but there's something deeper here. That's freedom. What do you do when everything you want maybe goes away? God's like, I still have a purpose for you, right? That's freedom. You don't have to live in anxiety and fear and worry. You don't. God's like, I'm offering you a better way to live. And then last one, make a difference. The utter extravagance of his work in us who trust him, endless energy, boundless strength. What's he saying? He's like, I want you to live in this new, he said, my possession. What's this glorious inheritance? It's my people. I want you to make a difference in the life of people. Now, can I get on my soapbox just real quick and say this, okay? Make a difference, make a difference. I think we're called to make a difference. That's why we started this place. We felt like the good news was so powerful, not just for, I'll get to heaven one day. That's great, but it's living now, here and now. You got to bring the kingdom to earth. That's what God's called us to do. Literally, we bring the kingdom. You bring the kingdom to your job every day. Hopefully, you bring it to school. You bring it in your classroom. It's people getting a glimpse of the kingdom of God. You got to make a difference. But here's my soapbox. Can I be honest? Let's talk about what Christians do, especially American Christians. We're not so much into making a difference. We just want to make a point. We bark all the time. You should do it. I can't believe you do it. Make one. We're always trying to make a point. And here's my question. What if all the followers of Jesus in America said, instead of us trying to make a point, how about we make a difference? Because make a point is easy. I can yell at my kid. I can text my son right now and be like, I can't believe you, da-da-da. And I feel good about myself. It doesn't matter. But what about when I have to actually walk with someone and say, you doing okay? I got to be involved in people's lives to make a difference. It takes a little more effort. But what if all of us followers of Jesus said, that's what we're called to do? So as we kind of hopefully put this together, so Paul, he's writing to the church. Well, Paul, where'd you get this? I imagine as he was talking with the early followers, so you're like, you know what? It's funny you say that, Paul, because Jesus, when we were eating, and it's kind of at the end in John 15, the end of, he's saying, hey, I'm getting ready to go to the cross. I'm not going to be with you any longer. He kind of reiterated this. And this is a phrase you'll hear me say so many times because I believe in it. We say, we want you. What's our goal here? Well, our purpose is to help you find your purpose. Okay, cool. How do I do that? What's your first step? Your first step for all of you in this room and watching online is, I want to live and love like Jesus as Jesus lives in me and loves through me. Because in the same chapter, he's like, I'm the branch, you're the vine. You can't do anything apart from me. You can't. You think you've been doing, but it doesn't have any merit. It doesn't have any lasting reward. So we have to be part of him. So this is what Jesus said in verse 11. He said, I have told you these things so that you may be filled with my joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. Find freedom. See, I want you to live differently. I want you to have the freedom to live differently. Where all the other things that everyone else is just so consumed by, you get to say, he's in control. And you know what the good news is? That means I don't have to be. That's it. That's great, good news. He says, this is my commandment. Love each other in the same way I have loved you. You want to know God? God's like, if you could even imagine how much I love you, now all I'm asking you to do is I live in you. I want you to show that love to other people. Well, I would, God, but they don't deserve it. Did you deserve it? No. Okay, fair enough. I would, but they wronged me and I can't forgive them. Did I forgive you? Yes, you did. Okay. See, it's a beautiful plan to know how much God truly loves us and we get to show others. He said, you didn't choose me, I chose you. So God from the beginning. He said, I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit. Make a difference. All of you in this room, make a difference. And then the last part. He says, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for using my name. This is my command. This is my new command. This supersedes everything. Love each other. That's where you're going to find at least the root of your purpose. Now, I'm a graphics guy, and our staff makes fun of me all the time. I walk in a meeting, and Cassie's one of my favorite. Cassie McClellan, she's like, oh my gosh, here's another chart. Here's a graph. Because I've got circles, diagrams, just a weirdo, right? I don't have a very good brain. But I do believe if you read through Jesus' life and the New Testament church, you'll see this rhythm constantly, up in and out, up in and out. It's a flow of life. And as I was thinking about this, how well it really does work, if you think what Jesus was saying to his followers, he's like, I'm leaving, but let me give you a picture here, okay? I want you to know my Father's love. I want you to know Dad's love for you, okay? If nothing else, make sure you grasp that. And you can grow in that every single day of the rest of your life. But he's also like, I want you to find freedom. And you're only going to do that by having some people in your life that say, is that really the best move? Is that really the top attitude? And most of us in here, let's be honest, we're Americans. We don't want anyone telling us to do anything. Someone will say, hey, you should, yeah, you don't tell me. But I don't find freedom until I get people close enough to me to say, really? Do you really believe that? I do. No, you don't. Right? That's how we find freedom. And then out, we get to make a difference. As you live in this, what he's saying is you're going to discover your purpose. There's a young couple. We have so many amazing people at C3, but there's a young couple at C3 named Maddox and Holly. And Holly leads one of our small groups for like young college people. They were in the first at the 9:30 over here in the gathering. And I said, sorry, bad news. They're both taken because they're engaged. Okay? I got the exact same response. And as soon as I said that out loud, I thought my daughter would be like, Dad, don't be creepy. Because I was like, they're a good-looking couple, right? Two good-looking people. And even that moment, I was like, I'm glad my daughter isn't here. I don't know why I repeated it, so now she heard it. But amazing people. Leads a small group. VBS, both rock stars. I was in the back. I didn't even say this where they could hear it. I was in the back like 2 weeks ago, and Maddox is volunteering, Cross Kids. And I'm watching these boys and wondering if some of them even have a great father figure, any father figure, and they love him, right? Why? Because it's two people, even though they're younger, have said, we realize our purpose is outside of ourselves. We realize our purpose, we really live it. We get to do what we're wired to do, but we get to do it with a focus on others, because if my purpose is just about me and my kids and my wife, it's not much of a purpose. And that's not much of a difference. So it's called to be bigger than that. And they both are such exceptional people. A life without purpose is boring. A life with the wrong purpose is wasted. So that's what I want to challenge you guys to do today. So as we close, I'm going to be a little bit of a science nerd real quick, okay? There's a place out west, I've been studying about it, called Death Valley. I don't know if any of you have ever been out west. I haven't. I just read about it, but it's pretty awesome. But this is Death Valley. So let me tell you why it's called Death Valley as we close. It's called Death Valley because it's super dry, incredibly hot, no moisture, very little water. It's a desert. So people a long time ago came in and said, it's Death Valley because nothing can live here. Very little rainfall, super dry. I think it's recorded as the hottest, somewhere in Death Valley, maybe the hottest temperature ever in the history of the world, like 140 degrees on Earth or something. Crazy hot, right? So what people said was, everything's dead here, there's no life. Well, in 2005, something crazy happened. Through kind of a freak storm, there was like 6 or 7 inches of rain. Okay, no big deal, it rains, it dries back up. But then what crazy thing happened was literally right after this rain, a few months later, they come out, and it's what they call a super bloom. This is what Death Valley looked like. Same place. Now here's why I'm telling you this, and this is what I've been praying for you guys for this whole series. This is what I want for all of you in this room, watching online, to hopefully get from this series. I read a guy, and he said this. He said, we called it Death Valley because we thought everything there was dead, but we should have called it Dormant Valley, because actually there was a lot of alive things. He said, matter of fact, some of these seeds may have been up to 30 years old that grew, just been waiting. And as I read that, I started thinking about all of us, right? And some of you here, you're killing the game. Man, keep doing it. Proud of you. Some of you here, if you're honest though, you're like, I feel like I could have potential, but I just don't even know what it is. I don't feel like I'm living in that purpose. And I think God would be like, yeah, because all along we thought there was no life there, but there was. It just took a spark. And I pray today as we get ready to leave out here, if nothing else, that you guys would realize this should be us as a church. All of you. All of you. If you ever look and watch and see something like, oh, they got that taken care of, it probably is something you could make it better. But not just here. What if we did this? What if we were these seeds at work, home, school? Like I said earlier, what if we realized we are to bring the kingdom of God everywhere we go. And I know some of you are like, that's too weird. Dude. I work in a factory. No. I'm saying you can be the person who shows grace, who shows love, who shows kindness, who maybe does something when everyone's like, I wouldn't have done that. I know, because we're bringing the kingdom. You can be that seed. And I just pray as we leave today that you guys would realize, maybe you're there, maybe you've been 30 years just going through the motions, that it's never too late. One spark, a little bit of rain changes everything. It's not Death Valley. It was just Dormant Valley. The seeds have been there the whole time, ready to go. So if you will, we're going to just close our eyes for just a second. We're going to pray. Father, I pray today for everyone watching online. I pray for everybody in this room. I'm so thankful for this place, so thankful for so many people who call themselves C3ers. And God, I pray today that as we would walk out of this room, we would realize that just with such a small seed, one seed, what amazing things can happen. I pray for some people here who feel like they are just one small seed. Maybe with no purpose, maybe feel like they could never make a difference, they don't have what it takes. And maybe because of that, they've been lying dormant for multiple years. Maybe they're young and just don't have confidence. God, I pray you would help people see today that no matter where they're at, they've got a story. No matter where they're at, they can be good news to the people around them. No matter where they're at, they can make a difference. And it all comes from first knowing how much you truly loved us. And we get to live in that acceptance and approval so we don't have to chase it anywhere else. I pray today, God. Pray that we would realize we're the seed. You water us, you help us grow, but let us go out and be the people that make a difference to a world that desperately needs hope and grace. Let that be us as we carry your name. We thank you for giving your life. We thank you for the ultimate sacrifice and dying and paying our debt so we can be right with God. We thank you for that. We thank you that you loved us so much that you made a way that we could not only have life eternal, but amazing life here right now. That we could live in freedom. We could live loving and serving others the way you served us. Help us to do that. Help us to be the seed as we walk out today. And above all, we thank you for the cross and your life so we can live. We ask this in your name, and amen. Guys, love to see you back for next week as we talk about the stories that shape us. Have a great week. We'll see you then. Take care.
Hey, yeah, God is good all the time.